So what we have here is the Upmann Noellas jar. The cigars in this jar are 42 by 135 or 5.3 inches. The Vitola de Galera Lissima Sacos, and the common name is Corona. So these cigars were actually standard production cigars up until the 80s, and then they were discontinued. And then these handmade cigars with the standard band and the Casa de Habano band were released in 2000, well, actually late 2010, and there was 5,000 of them made. But there's a caveat to that, because in 2013 there was more of these jars that were released, and they don't know whether it was another 5,000 or just part of the original 5,000. It's really not clear as to how or why or whatever the 2013 cigars were brought into being, but they do exist, and I'm going to show you a little something in a bit. You can see the jar comes in this kind of a foam lined box to protect it from shipping and so on and so forth, so it doesn't break or anything like that. And you can see the jar there with that red stickers on top and that leather kind of handle, so to speak, that comes off of there. And anyway, we're going to get a little bit closer here. There's the bottom. It's got like cork on the bottom or something like that. And then, as you can see, there's a cedar that lines the entire circumference of the jar. So I'll give it a quick spin here. You can see the Upmann logo there, and then that red sticker down there, of course, is all of the verbiage that I brought to your attention earlier in the video. It's the same verbiage, basically, as I'm spinning around this jar, and you can see that cedar is lining the entire clear glass jar of these Noellas. So, like I said, there's 25 handmade cigars in there. They have the standard band, plus they have the LCDH band on there. So there's two. It's a double banded cigar. So, I'm gonna get a little bit closer here, get this this lid off, and then we'll get into the cedar, and I'll get to what I was talking about with 2009, 2013. Okay, so you have a cedar at the top. Now, as I flip this cedar over, you can see that there's no date stamp on here whatsoever. So cut over to this here, I have a picture of a 2013 on the left. You can see it has 2013 stamped on the cedar, and 2009 doesn't, as seen here. So that makes these jars from 2009. You can see there's the one tissue wrap cigar. And what that does is it prevents you, or helps you in not having those bands kind of click together on their edges, and then you tear a band or tear a wrapper or so on and so forth on the cigar. So you pull that tissue cigar out first, and then after you've done that, you can just easily extract one of these cigars from the jar without the bands catching or anything like that. As you can see, the top of the cigars there, they got a really nice oily sheen on there. And as I get ready to spin the cigar around, you can see there's a really nice oily sheen on it. And the wrapper looks really nice. There's not a lot of seams on there. There's a nice sheen on there, not really that veiny, and it's just a really nice looking cigar. I mean, it looks really nice, and hopefully the smoking experience matches the visual experience. But as I always say, I really don't care what a cigar looks like. I just care how it smokes. But hopefully everything is going to align and everything's going to be great. So let's... Okay, so we're back here with the Upmann Noellas from 2009. And anyway, get all that stuff out of the way. Dudecigars.com. Go over there. There's a bunch of stuff on there for aggregating all the feeds and everything like that. The Instagram and all that stuff. YouTube reviews are on there too. And then, of course, if you could just subscribe over there to hit the button and subscribe and like, that'd be awesome. That'd be greatly appreciated. So anyway, so Upmann Noellas from 2009, and like I said in the pre-lighting here, when I was showing the close-up, there's a really nice sheen on this cigar, just really nice and just really great looking cigar. So anyway, hopefully this cigar is gonna live up to the way that it looks. Anyway, I'm gonna give it a cut and a light. Really nice draw. Yeah. Just enough kind of tautness in the draw. It's not like a wind tunnel, but there's plenty of airflow. So anyway, let's get her lit up.
Right out the gate, there's a bit of a spiciness in the nose and actually on the roof of the mouth, and tobacco. But yeah, it's feeling kind of girthy for at the time of filling. I think, gosh, around 10 years old this cigar is at the time of filling, roughly. So anyway, I'm going to smoke this thing down to the bands, and I'll be back with the tasting notes. Back with the tasting notes on the H. Upmann Noellas. So like I said, the cigar opened up with that tobacco and that spice, and the spice ramped up quite a bit in the first third, along with a bit of a woody sweetness in there that mixed with that spicy retro. And the spiciness was really prevalent on the roof of the mouth, on the palate, and there was a bit of an oiliness on the finish too as well. As the cigar burned down through the first third into the second third, the spiciness tamped back, and the sweetness actually came up and intensified quite a bit. It almost became kind of a caramel sweetness in there. And about midway through the second third, there was a bitterness that began to develop in the cigar. The bitterness was kind of an herby bitterness through the center of the tongue, which made it kind of a bitter, herby finish along with that spiciness in the second third. As the cigar burned down through the second third into the last third, that herbiness really came up quite a bit. It was quite prevalent in the retro and on the palate, along with the spiciness which ramped up and became quite prevalent in the retro and on the palate as well. And the sweetness really tamped back quite a bit. So the last third was kind of this herby, spicy, retro finish with a hint of a sweetness every now and then in the retro as well in the last third. Strength-wise, I'd have to give this thing it was about 3 out of 5. Full-bodied cigar. Have to give it a CA rating right now of about 91, about 8.5 to 9 smoke rings. This cigar smoked quite a bit younger than I would imagine a 10-year-old cigar to be. That's just me. I'm some knucklehead on the internet with an opinion. But I really think that these cigars, from what I've smoked quite a few cigars out of this jar already. It seems to me that these cigars have some really good aging potential, though. It'd be nice to revisit these cigars in about 10 years. I don't think I'm going to have them that long. I've been smoking them. I've been enjoying them now, and probably just going to smoke them anyway. But if you have a chance to, I would suggest to pick up these Noellas from 2009, and hopefully we can compare notes one of these days. Anyway, I've rambled on enough, and that's enough out of me.